Hey, fellow mathers. Before we get into this episode, we want to share with you how you can get access to free content, professional learning that will keep your students engaged and doing the math that matters. Get ready to go to this link, mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge.
That's right. Registration is open for the free Math is Figureoutable Challenge that's starting May 15th and runs to the 17th at 7 p.m. Central. We're going to have 3 nights jam-packed with learning and routines that you can take straight to your classroom.
In these challenges, we have a great time. We do some math, talk about classroom experiences, give away super cool bonuses and prizes. You won't just walk away with routines that are naturally engaging and encourage your students to think mathematically. You'll also have a chance to win over $6K worth in prizes, including a few virtual PD sessions for your school. I'll be joined by my wonderful co-host Kim and special guest Jenna Labe.
You can register at mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge for a fantastic learning experience. That's mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. Now on to the show.
Hey, fellow mathematicians! Welcome to the podcast where math is figureoutable. I'm Pam Harris.
I'm Kim Montague.
And we make the case that mathematizing is not about mimicking steps or memorizing facts, but it's about thinking and reasoning, about creating and using mental relationships. We take the strong stance that not only are algorithms not particularly helpful in teaching, but that mimicking algorithms actually keep students from being the mathematicians they can be. We answer the question, if not algorithms and step-by-step procedures, then what? All right, Kim, we were talking and you were telling me this story about your boys, and I was like, stop, don't tell me anymore. We're going to put this on the podcast. So, y'all, this is a little raw. I don't even know the end of the story, but I'm excited to hear it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kim, you have 2 boys.
Yes.
Go.
All right. So Cooper, who is my younger in 5th grade, has been working on multiplication and division of fractions.
Fun.
And and so I've gotten to listen to him a little bit, and he absolutely loves talking math with me. He's not super a fan of some math situations, but he will get a shower. I'm usually like yelling, "Get out of the shower!" And he will jump into my bed afterwards and say, "Let's talk math." And I, soak up every second of that. I think it might actually be a ploy to stay up late.
I mean,
but he gets me every time. So
you both enjoy it, so that works.
Oh yeah, it's fine. So he is the one who will say, "Hey, is it Math Strat Chat?" and loves like just thinking about things, especially if he hasn't had a chance to think of them before. So anyway,
I'm interrupt you really quick.
Yeah.
So when y'all are on social media and you're looking at Math Strat Chat, check out when Kim will post his strategy.
Oh yeah, because
like he's the one that asked for it. He's like, "Hey, it's tonight. It's Wednesday. Let's get on Math Strat Chat, whatever." And then they'll post his strategy, so you can.
And if it's Thursday or Friday and I haven't shown him, that's bad.
He gives it to you, huh?
Yeah. So
come on, Kim, do Math Strat Chat with your kid. What's wrong with you?
No, I know. So the other night we were talking about multiplication of fractions. And I said, and so sometimes, I will give him like a mini problem string just to see, what kind of relationships he can see. So I was giving him like 1/5 times 1/8 and 2/5 times 1/8 and 4/5 times 1/8 and kind of cementing some of the language of 1/5 of 1/8 and just changing it up a little bit to see what he was messing with. But I realized that I had been giving him problems like 3/5 times 3/9. And he was at a place where he was kind of discovering some things. And
can I pause you for just a second? I'm just getting a little mathy here. We're assuming a lot of knowledge. So you were doing some things with unit fractions.
Yes.
1/5 of 1/8. And so that the unit fractions, you were kind of like, what do you know? What are you thinking about with multiplication for unit fractions? Yeah. And you realized that you just hadn't had fun yet with him doing something with non-unit fractions.
Yes.
Where there's not a 1, not a 1, not a 1 in the numerator, but some other numbers in the numerator. So, okay, sorry to interrupt. Keep going. Sorry. Don't lose your train of thought.
So he was also at a place where he was starting to say, wait a minute, I'm noticing something. You can just multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. And I was like, oh, you think that's true? And he went back and looked at a couple of the problem string that we had done. And he said, yeah, I think that's true. And I said, okay, so let me give you this other problem. And the problem that it gave him was 3/5 times 3/9. And I said, what do you think? I know.
Random. Was that on purpose or it was like random?
It was actually a little random.
A little?
It was a little random.
Like you just chose random numbers. You're like 3/5 times 3/9.
Well, 3/5 had been in the previous problem. So the last problem I had given him was 3/5 times 1/5. And so then I was like, oh, wait, let me give you one that doesn't have a unit fraction. Mm-hmm. And so I literally used 3/5 again and then was like, let me go 3/9.
Okay.
And so he says to me, I think that it's going to be 9/45 because if you multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators, you're going to get 9/45. And I said, okay. So let's talk about what you know and see if that's true. And he said, well, I'm not really sure, but I know what 1/5 times 1/9 is because he's had a lot of experience with 2 unit fractions. So I know 1/5 of 1/9 is 1/45. And I said, okay. And he said,
do you mind if I pause for just a second?
Yeah.
Sorry. Because that experience he's had, he could think about 1/9 of something and then say to himself, if I'm going to cut that 1/9 into 5 chunks, it's as if I'm cutting the whole into those 5 chunks as well, that were cut into ninths. And now I have 45 total pieces, but I only need one of them. That's 1/45.
He literally pictures a 1/9 of something and then a 1/5 of that piece. Yeah.
Nice. And so he knows that 1/5 of a 9th is 1/45. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
And so I'm recording on a piece of paper as he's talking out loud. And so I wrote 1/5 times a 9th equals 1/45. And then he said, oh, wait. And at this point, I'll pause because I have another son who's 3 years older. And he hopped out of the shower and came and jumped on the bed. And he's like, oh, I want to see what y'all are doing. And I said, do not say a word. You may not speak. You may listen.
We should start calling this pajama math. Sorry, keep going.
And I said, do not. You can listen and you can, but don't say a word. Let him think. And he said, okay, I got it. And so Cooper had just figured 1/5 times 1/9. And then he said, wait, I can do 3/5 of a 9th. And that's 3/45. And so I wrote times 3 to get him from 1/5 times 3/5. And then from 1/45 to 3/45, I had written times 3. And he said, yeah, exactly that. And so then I said, okay, so now you know 3/5 times 1/9 is 3/45. So how does that help you solve 3/5 times 3/9? And he said, oh, I can just scale again. And he said scale because we've used that language before when he's done stuff on a ratio table. Mm-hmm. So then he said, so that means that 3/5 of 3/9 is 9/45, which is what he had predicted. And I said, okay.
Brilliant reasoning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that he was willing to think through what made sense to him. Because when he said, I think I can just multiply across, he's like, I'm not really sure. And that doesn't make any sense. And I can't picture that. And so I love that he's making some understanding about scaling up and thinking about the unit fractions. So Luke, of course, says, can I talk now? I said, yes, what? And he said, well, the problem was 3/5 times 3/9. And that's really just 3/5 times a third. And I immediately was like, okay. And he said, and that's the same as 1/3 times 3/5 or 1/3 of 3/5. And that's just a 1/5. I was like,
because 1/3 of 3 anythings.
Yeah.
1/3 of 3 things is one of those things. And we're dealing with fifths. So 1/3 of 3/5 is 1/5, which is equivalent to 9/45.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That is so amazing. I love it.
They're a mess.
You could have said that the older kid came in and said, dude, just multiply straight across. That's the rule. Like you could have said that. But you have this atmosphere in your house where your kids are like, no, like we're reasoning about stuff. And he looked at that problem, was able to see 3 ninths as 1/3. And you could sort of think about 1/3 of 3 anythings. Nice. That's such a cool problem.
Yeah.
Hey, so we actually maybe should have, at the beginning of this podcast, we should have said 3/5 times 3 ninths. Think about that. Solve the problem, use relationships, audience, like listeners, and then told you what her boys did. That would be actually more in line with what we suggest you do in your classrooms. So what we don't believe is that we just say, hey, here's what kids did, and here's what someone else did. Isn't that cool? We actually like to have you solve the problem first before we sort of tell you other strategies. So a little miss on that. Sorry. Okay, we'll teach through non-example today. However, now, well, actually, Kim, did you want to say anything else about your? That was cool.
That's it.
So then let's do it right this time. So let's give you another problem that we're going to invite y'all to play with. Like, be Luke and Cooper and play with these numbers. And how can you reason through? Ready? Here's a problem for you to think about. What is 3/4 times 2/5? 3/4 of 2/5. Pause the podcast, work on that. How can you think about 3/4 of 2/5 and then come on back and we'll share a couple strategies.
Well, can I jump in for just a second? Because
before you pause,
we have some listeners who know some rules, right? Like know some things to do. And so you're asking, like, what are the relationships you can figure out, not just what's the answer.
I mean, Luke knew rules, but he reasoned through it. So yeah, we're not interested in an answer. It's not about answer getting. And if you're confused on that, listen to last week's podcast. What episode would that be? 87? 88? I don't remember. Listen to the last podcast episode where we talk about, is it about answer getting or about building relationships? And Kim's right. Build relationships or use relationships to solve that problem. All right. Then come back. Okay. So hopefully you pause the podcast, and now we're going to share a couple of strategies of 3/4 of 2/5 or 3/4 times 2/5. Kim, who's going first?
You can go. How many are we going to share?
I don't know. How much time do we have?
I'll share my favorite one. You share your favorite one. Maybe right. We'll hope they're not the same.
You start then.
Okay.
Okay.
So I love this problem. It works fantastically for this idea of swapping that I love so much, because this problem is multiplicative in nature, right? So I love to think about 3/4 times 2/5. And actually, I like to think about that as 2/4 times 3/5. So because you can think about 3 1/4 and 2 1/5, and I like to just swap the numerators.
Using the associative property, you're reassociating in multiplication.
Yep. So I think about 2/4 times 3/5, which is the same as 1/2 times 3/5, or 1/2 of 3/5. And so then 1/2 of 3/5 is 3/10.
How do you know that?
That's a great question. So 3/5, then if I cut those fifths in half, how do I know 3/5? Half of those are 3/10.
I mean, I liked where you were going.
Yeah, so if I'm picturing 3 1/5 and I cut those fifths in half, then I only have 3/10.
Yeah, because each half of that fifth is a tenth.
Yeah.
And you have 3 of those half fifths. Half a fifth is 3/10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. Another way to think of 1/2 of 3/5 getting 3/10 is that you could think about 1/2 of 3 is 1.5, right? So you could have 1.5 tenths, and 1.5 tenths is equivalent to, 1.5 fifths. My bad, 1.5 fifths. Because I'm thinking about 1/2 of 3 anythings. 1/2 of 3 anythings is 1.5. So 1/2 of 3/5 is 1.5 fifths. And 1.5 fifths is equivalent to 3/10. That'd be another way to do that. Oh, I love that. I was not thinking you were going to use that strategy. Y'all, I have given Kim this problem before, and that is not the strategy I thought she was going to use, because I've heard a different one. That's okay. So I'm going to do my favorite strategy, and then I'm going to tell you what I thought Kim was going to say, because I've heard her say it. But hey, that is a symptom, a sign of a mathematician who
A
they use
symptom.
the relationships. What?
A symptom.
A symptom. Is that bad? They use relationships that are on the top of their head that
Yep.
day. Like
Mhm.
what they're thinking about that day, that sort of, I'm going to use what pings for me. Okay, so my favorite strategy today for this problem is to think about 3/4 of 2/5 as 3/4 of two anythings. So if I'm just going to think about 3/4 of 2/5, I'm going to sort of ignore the fifths for a minute and just think about 3/4 of 2. I can think about a half of 2. A half of 2 is 1, and a half of that is a half. So 3/4 of 2 is 1.5. Is that right? 1.5. And that's a different way of getting 3/4 of 2/5 is 1.5 fifths.
Mhm.
And I'm back to 1.5 fifths, which is equivalent to 3/10.
I like yours as well. Can I tell you that I got a little distracted for a second because I was like, man, I wonder what I've done before. And then I realized what I probably did, and I got a little sad because it was what I didn't share. Because I think I know what I would have said before, and you're true. It's true. I like this strategy.
Well, so why don't I let you share that then,
Okay.
since you're sad that I was about to share it.
No, I'm
Kim,
not sad you're
will
going to
you?
share. I'm sad I didn't say it.
Oh my word!
So
All right,
ridiculous.
Kim, you're on. What
Okay,
what is your now favorite strategy?
Okay, my now favorite is to think about it in terms of money or percents.
Mm-hmm.
So 3/4 of 2/5 I would think about as 75% of 40 cents.
We better say that again.
Yeah,
Three.
so 3/4 of 2/5 is the same as 75% of 40 cents.
It's equivalent to 75% of 40 cents.
Yeah, and
So
so
2/5 is 40 cents.
yeah, so 75% of 40 cents is just 30 cents, which is 3/10. And you're right, I love that one a lot more.
I mean, that one's so cool. I think the first time I ever heard you say that, I was like, wait, where'd the 0.4 come from? And you're like, 2/5. It was like, oh, that's right, because 1/5 is 0.2. And so 20 cents. And so 2 of those 5. Now I own that. Like now, but I think the first time I ever heard you say this, 2/5 was not 0.4 to me. It wasn't just bam, 40 cents. So I'm kind of happy that now it is. It kind of
That's
makes
great.
me like excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you could have thought about your strategy as 1/4 of 40 cents instead of 75% of 40 cents. I thought about
Wait,
1/4 of 4.
three-fourths.
Oh, sorry. Well, sorry, but 1/4 of 40 cents and then find 3 of those.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like, so you went straight to 75%, but you could have found 25% and then tripled that, or found 1/4 of 40 cents. And then, so 3 of those 1/4 is 30 cents. That might be, if somebody's never thought about it, that might be sort of a helpful relationship to think about. All right, y'all. So playing with fraction multiplication can be fun, whether you're in your pajamas or not. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to have more problems like this, we do problems like this that are rich, at least most of them, on Math Strat Chat. So we do Math Strat Chat on Wednesday evenings in social media here in the United States around 7:45 Central Time. It's not always, kind of depends on what I'm doing. But we throw out a question to the world, and I try to write math questions that are rich enough that Kim can have a favorite strategy and I can have a favorite strategy. And there's multiple ways, really slick, cool ways of using relationships to figure those out. So if you're interested to hear or see how people around the world are figuring these rich problems, join us in Math Strat Chat Wednesday evenings on social media. We do Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and it's hashtag Math Strat Chat as Math Strategy Chat. That's what it stands for. Math Strat Chat. We'd love to have you join in. My favorite way for you to join in is for you to read the question, solve it with your favorite relationship, type that out. Now we have a couple people. It's super cool. Mark, I don't know how to say your last name, Mark. Mark N will always do several strategies. I wasn't planning to say these names. Now it's not coming to me. Who's my friend in T Cubed? What's her name? Okay, I totally know your name, and I'm blowing it right now. She will always put in at least 3 strategies, and often she writes them on paper, takes a picture. Brilliant! Like, I love it when we have your first sort of go at it, and then even better, the 2 of them and more who will join in will then look at other people's strategies And then we'll say, oh, I love how you did this. Or, oh, that was so cool how you were able to use this relationship. Or sometimes, whoa, that was even better than what I did. And so it's totally fun when people join in Math Strat Chat by solving it first your way and throwing that out there. And then giving us, going into other people's strategies and commenting on those. And that just makes the conversation even more fun. However, if you want, you could just lurk. You just head on in there and see what other people are doing, and that's totally fine and totally fun. So we would just invite you to join us on Math Strat Chat for fun strategy conversations. So if you want to learn more math and refine your mathematics teaching so that you and students are mathematizing more and more, then join the Math is Forgettable movement and help us spread the word that math is figure-outable. And her name is Karen. It's Karen. I remembered. It's Karen. Thank you for listening and making math more figure-outable.
To learn even more, make sure you register for our free challenge at mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. You are not going to want to miss the evenings of May 15th through 17th, starting at 7 p.m. Central.
Math teaching, go register now. That's mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. Join us to make math more and more figure-outable. And if you can't join live, register and we'll send you access to the recordings. We'll see you there.